Okay, so originally I was long ago at the very beginning. I guess it was Gordon Lafer and Marie Vituli and stuff were organizing and thinking about organizing. And I remember really well, Gordon Lafer is a friend of mine, and he came up and he said, "What do you think? Do you think we should have a faculty union here at the U of O?" And we discussed it for a little while, and I thought that was a great idea because there were so many issues that we were interested in fixing. Particularly at that point in time, for me, our class sizes had really jumped. And we were now under pressure. Our department had always said we wouldn't hire career and TTF because we thought we should have tenure track, and yet we were starting to do that more and more, and there was a clear divide between the faculty. A lot of people not trusting each other and being dissatisfied and not having any way to address it. So those were some of the issues. And so I went to the very first meetings and stayed pretty active since then. So on and off. Sometimes I had too much to do for my own work, but mostly pretty active. So after the first meetings I went away for a little while after the first year or so. I forget how long, but then I came back to join the organizing committee and then really worked hard on the card drive and all that. And it grew to be much better for the university than I even ever pictured it would be, meaning it unified the faculty to work together to solve things, and that felt really good to have people talking about all the issues and working on solving them instead of just being upset individually. So that was a good process. For us, to my mind, having the faculty work things through together helped a lot. It helped us think about how to take control, or at least have some influence. I wouldn't say we have control. That's going too far, but some influence on, objecting to too large a classes, talking to, including non-tenure track faculty in the regular discussions about how the department should run, because what we ended up having is if we had non-tenure track faculty who didn't do service at all, then they didn't serve on the committees of their students, and they didn't write letters of rec, and they didn't have any voice in how the department ran. And so then we also had no influence over what they were up to, which was so to unify it as one faculty, very helpful for the students and very helpful for us, figuring out how to run a cohesive department. So I would say unifying the increasing numbers of non-tenure track with tenure track was incredibly helpful. I know for quite a few people coming up for tenure and things like that, getting more clear rules was helpful. I can see the changes so that there's a process and fewer vagaries, I would say, people feel. What else? I would say having raises after a long pay freeze was incredibly morale boosting for a lot of people, because it feels like an insult to really lose ground over time. I mean, inflation's going on and we weren't even getting cost of living, and then to lose ground and the bills get harder. And I know we were all working harder in the summer and things like that, and that eats into research and things like that. So that, I think it helps a lot to at least keep up with inflation. I think just having conversations of how to, make sure we have a voice in maintaining our working conditions I know that when we complained about overflowing classrooms, they fixed it, and we now don't have overflowing classrooms. They're full, but they're not people in the aisles without a desk, and that's hugely helpful for everybody. They literally, before we complained as a union, told us that we should have our grad students stand at the back if there weren't enough chairs. Now, come on. The grad students have to sit down just as much as anybody in a long classroom, and now, even though the classrooms are tight, they work harder at fixing it because they know we'll complain, and we'll complain not individually but together, and I think that's helpful. And it just helps the whole environment that they anticipate now. They know that we have power to complain, so they make sure it runs better. I think it runs better in many ways. I think they're getting used to working with us as more equal, and so I feel it. I serve on the Senate too, and I think it's really helped the Senate have more power, and the administration want to bother to work with us. It really, really helps because they feel like they need to work with us rather than just ignore us if they want to, and I think that's useful. Very useful for running the university better, in my opinion, is to have them not run it just over the wishes of the faculty, but with the faculty. I mean, they don't listen all the time, but they think about listening, and they listen a lot more, so that's good. Well, I feel very proud about all we've done here because we've got a good contract, and it's working, it's getting more systematic, and they're working with us. And I felt really more positive than negative after the last contract, which the first contract felt good and monumental, but we did, and it felt like we did a lot, but it was interesting how you always feel disappointed when you don't get things that you think you deserved. But now I understand and get used to the process of compromise and thinking it through, and I feel really good about a lot that we got done, and I understand better that it's a step-by-step process. You can't fix everything right away, and that we're working on a lot of things for the future. I think we need, as I've always thought, I worked on the diversity, I was chaired the Diversity and Equity Committee for the last couple of years, and I was trying to work on child care and things like that for as one main thing, along with a ton of other help for women and minorities. And that's just not happening yet, to get better child care. But we're working on it. By opening the conversation, we're planning on it, and we're coming up with ways to work on that in the future. It was really hard on me as going up for tenure and not having child care nearby. It really hard to have little kids too far away to go say hi to them. That just is inhumane. And so it's important for women faculty and men, but really hard when you're nursing, which is part of. So anyway, that's a long-term project, but bigger vision than that, like more important, I see all of this as part of raising higher education across our state and hopefully across the country, because higher education, we had the best higher education system in the world, and it's slipping, and it's really slipping. Like, I'm sad for California schools. They're really slipping. U of O, Oregon has a lot to do to raise the bar, and it will only happen if we organize. I have a vision of organizing not just higher ed, but with K through 12. I feel like it's slipping I want to join with all the teachers and demand that the working conditions are the learning conditions, because my kids are suffering because the teachers' unions are scared at the K through 12 level. So I would like us to work all around together to fix this education system. Large classrooms are horrible, and we could easily cut our classrooms in half, and that would help the education environment completely. I know my husband's just now starting to go into teaching elementary school just because he likes kids. He's facing teaching 30 kids in elementary school, in like kindergarten, and that's just crazy. You can't do it. And I feel that way about our classrooms. When I started here, they'd have a cap of 60, but they'd often fill at 30, like they'd be done. Now they're fitting into the capacity of the room every time, and that's just harder. You should at least have some smaller classes. They don't all have to be small, but this country could afford it, and I think the only way to fix it is if faculty get organized and parents organize with them, and we demand that we do better on education. So that's, I don't see any other fix. We could just voted in, but there has to be pressure, and the pressure is in the wrong direction right now. And it's the best way I see for fixing the situation is for us to figure out how to organize more faculty other places, and to slowly across time take it back and make it better. Our country's really rich, but we're just not spending the money on it. And I can see where all the big pots of money are, and they're not coming toward education, and that's sad. And it's very short-sighted. So that's my bigger vision, is to fix it. So there you go.